Hi everyone, it's Nicole, and thanks so much for joining me. Today we are working in my Project Life 6x12 album. This is week number 29. This week is July 19th through July 25th of 2020. And this one's going to be a little bit longer. We had a lot of things that happened this week. The products that I'm using are primarily the July 2020 Pocket Life from the Hip Kit Club. And there are also going to be a few embellishments that I'm going to pull from the August Allie Edwards Stories by the Month kit. Like I said, we had a lot of things that happened this week. I primarily scrap my Project Life in the 6x12 format. So this week it's going to be two 6x12 layouts. And then as you saw at the beginning, I opened up my album so that I could see where I left off the prior week before, which is one thing I like to do. And this week was a good example of that. That's why I left that in so that you could see my process. I left off with a insert that was half, so it was a 3x12 layout. So I had to pick up where I left off there and do three 3x4 cards and then move right into the 6x12. So when I was looking at my photos, I had three that were primarily animal focused, and then the rest of them were of my husband and my kids and some things that happened that week and things that we did. So I left those photos for the two 6x12s. And then because there was those three animal photos, I used those for that smaller insert. So this week we had was the first week we really did a full harvest of our garden. The top left card that is kind of off screen a little bit there is our first cucumber that we picked for the season. And it was a day that we had just spent harvesting like banana peppers and zucchini. So we spent a lot of time throughout the day shredding and bagging for freezing and cutting peppers and seeding them and such to bag them for freezing also. This week also was my son's birthday. And it was, oh wait, no, it wasn't. This was the week before. Okay, I'm a week off. So it was just mostly harvesting. And I fussed around a lot with my week number tag. I used labels a lot in this, and I liked this cucumber card because it had a lot of that space at the bottom for my week title and date. So I wanted to do that, but I didn't like how I originally stamped it out. I had tried to pick a brighter pink, and it just didn't work. Like the only pink that was in that page was on that bottom July card, and that's really all the pink that was on there. So I left it in just to show that sometimes I stamp things out. Sometimes the colors that I pick don't work. I put them on there, but I eventually end up peeling up that label and putting down another one. I changed my ink color to black, and it just seemed to work so much better. I don't know, it was just something that with the color of the label, and it just wasn't sitting right with me. So, but anywho, that bottom card, I decided to do my journaling. You'll see here, it'll catch up in a little bit. I decided to do my journaling on a piece of grid paper because everything that I seemed to touch on this project, something just wasn't working right. I did manage to cut this straight with that flower out a little bit with my X-Acto knife so that I can tuck that picture of a glitter tumbler. That was my first glitter tumbler I made, and it was for a beach theme, and I absolutely loved it. But I did manage to cut that out, and it fit in there great. But there were other things that I was doing, and no matter what I did, it just didn't work. it started with the color with that first week label, and then it moved on to just different embellishments, and then I ended up not being able to fussy cut things right, and I at one point just threw my hands up in the air and thought, well, I'm just going to scrap this video altogether. And then I thought, you know what? No, because not every process is perfect. I really fussed a lot with it, and at this point I was getting frustrated with some of the things. So I found this stamp that said today's story, and I stamped it once, didn't like how it stamped, changed ink, stamped it again on the same card. And at this point, I just didn't care. So I just stamped it a bunch of times. And then I tried to write my journaling below it, and I totally messed up the journaling. I don't know what I was thinking. I was spelling words wrong. My sentence didn't even make sense. So I thought, you know what? Just bring in another label, try the journaling again, and then I just adhered that journal or that label onto the bottom of that card. So that just seemed to be how this whole thing went. No matter what I was working on, it just didn't work. So the right side of my page, to go back to the stories, my husband is the top right card with this big cheesy Snapchat picture, and that photo, it's hysterical, but that just really sums up my husband. He just always constantly makes me laugh, and this was day one on a new job, and I said a little bit about this in the last process, but he decided to change jobs right in the middle of the pandemic, and it was a career change for him, and it was so much better, and he was so much happier, and this picture just summed it all up, and it went along with the story with the photo on the left, which was a photo of, I want to say it was a Snapchat that he had sent me, of his first job that he was on site, his first day. But he was just so happy, so I had to leave this photo in there because it was a good description of and a good story of what that first day really was for him. I had mentioned about the glitter tumbler, and then my son is in the hockey photo on the left of that, and I left this in because this was whenever our deck hockey team finally picked back up and started playing again, with the whole COVID restrictions and whatnot. But this was him walking off the deck the very first game back, and they had won, and he was just so happy. And it was, comments of kids being excited to be back with their friends, and just being able to get out and do stuff and see the friends and see the people that they haven't seen in months. So it was nice to capture that moment whenever they were coming off the deck together. The bottom photo is a picture of my son sleeping, and I just used a gummy bear embellishment over that orange heart. Gummy bear really doesn't have anything to do with it. It's just stinking cute. And I put that over the orange heart just because the colors worked very well together. And then a label that says, "Oh, my heart belongs here," which actually is an Ellie Studio label from a past kit. I'm not sure what month, but I pulled that from my stash as well too. So this is that top card that I was mentioning. This to the left of my husband. It's just a photo of his first day on the job. I use geotag to put on there to mark his. Actually, it's his third location, his third stop on his first day. So I used that, and a Go Do puffy sticker, which I believe was a Studio Calico puffy sticker. But if it's a Studio Calico, it's probably from, my goodness, at least 6 years ago. I have such a puffy sticker stash and embellish like enamel dots. I'm trying to really work through and use up some things that I have just been hoarding forever, and that's the same thing. Oh, that's the sheet of the puffy stickers there. I'm pretty sure that is Studio Calico, but like I said, it's from a long time ago. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's Freckled Fawn. That's a Freckled Fawn puffy. Anywho, busting into the stash, using up what I have, trying to get my older product used, mixing it in with my newer products to try to revive it a little bit. I eventually dive into some enamel stars. I do the same thing too. This little tray on the left hand side here is how I store my loose embellishments. I have different, a clear tiered organizer right in front of me that I'm reaching for. This one's holding all of my puffies. One that you saw shows my enamel dots. I have one for chipboard. I have two for labels. One drawer is just dedicated to Ellie Studio because I'm addicted to those labels and those cut aparts. They are amazing. And then another one with some miscellaneous stuff. So I'm just sifting through each one of these drawers, trying to use up things that I have, and trying to get use, like I said, with using some older supplies with newer supplies. I like getting the kit cards from HipKit and from other companies, and then pulling out older coordinating embellishments to use with those. Just use them. And I am a very heavy embellisher whenever it comes to my Project Life pages. I envy those that have the perfect white borders with the perfect journaling, and those that can fill up 3x4 cards of nothing but journaling. I'm just not that type of scrapper. I'm more of this is a pretty color, it looks good here, over embellisher, add as many stickers and enamel dots as possible. So that wraps up, going back to layout, that wraps up those two 6x12s. And this is that 3 pocket insert that I was talking about. And when you open my album and flip through it, it almost is going to kind of appear that those 3 photos are a part of the prior week. But honestly, it doesn't really bother me that much. My colors mesh better with week 29. And honestly, if those 3 photos fall before my title card, it doesn't bother me. But these were just 3 quick photos of 3 different, they all 3 told 3 different stories. Eventually the top one is going to be a photo of my youngest son with my parents' golden retriever. And it was one of those photos that he did a selfie and said, "Hi, Mom," and just sent it to me while I was working. And it was a selfie of him and the dog. So it was absolutely adorable. I eventually put a pink label at the top of that, which is an Ellie Studio label from my stash that says "Love this," and just something noting that it was a selfie that he had sent me while he was at work, just to remember why that small moment meant enough for me to print it, to include it this week. The second series down is 2 smaller photos. I want to say these are a 1.75 inch, 1.75 square. A little bit bigger than that, but they're not quite 2 inches. They're just under 2 inches. But anyways, this is a photo of my dad and his other dog, and this dog is extremely comical. It's a Vizsla, and I've never met a dog with a personality like this, and it climbed up on my dad's lap, and he wanted to eat the watermelon that he was eating, and that his mind was set to it, and that was that. So it just shows, it tells that story of him sitting at the table and basically eating watermelon off the rind like a human would. And then the bottom one is of a nearly 5-foot snake that my father found underneath my car one day, and it was captioned with a label and alphas underneath it just say no. And I journaled about how he found it under my car, and if I was going to leave for work any earlier, it would have been there and by my feet because it was at the driver's side, and just how much I don't like snakes. So it was just a quick thanks, Dad, for saving me, but no. Also with these 3, this is another thing that I like to do with my papers, is sometimes I don't have journaling cards that fit. So I go into my stash. That yellow and white polka dot is from a paper pad that you saw me trace out, and because I was just way too lazy to tear it and measure it. But I also like to use paper pads and other things like packaging to back my photos. It's a great way to extend your stash, That's the end of the video. Thanks so much for joining me. Sorry to cut it off there real quick. I'll see you next time. Thanks.